The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Vedanta and its application to Indian life, Part 7. The Upanishads is the one scripture in the world of all others that does not talk of salvation but of freedom. Be free from the bonds of nature, be free from weakness, and it shows you that you have this freedom in you already. That is another peculiarity of its teachings. You are Daivist. Never mind, you have got to admit that by very nature the soul is perfect. Only by certain actions of the soul has it become contracted. Indeed, Ramanuja's theory of contraction and expansion is exactly what the modern evolutionists call evolution and atavism. The soul goes back, becomes contracted as it were. Its powers become potential, and by good deeds and good thoughts, it expands again and reveals its natural perfection. With the Advaitis, the one difference is that he admits evolution in nature and not in the soul. Suppose there is a screen and there is a small hole in the screen. I am a man standing behind the screen and looking at this grand assembly. I can see only a very few faces here. Suppose the hole increases. As it increases, more and more of this assembly is revealed to me. And in the full, when the whole has become identified with the screen, there is nothing between you and me in this case. Neither you changed nor I changed. All that changed was in the screen. You were the same from the first to the last, only the screen changed. This is the Advaitist position with regard to evolution. Evolution of nature and manifestation of self within. Not that the self can be by any means be made to contract. It is unchangeable, the infinite one. It was covered as it were with a veil, the veil of Maya, and as this veil becomes thinner and thinner, the inborn natural glory of the soul comes out and becomes more manifest. This is the one great doctrine which the world is waiting to learn from India. Whatever they may talk, however they may try to boast, they will find out day after day that no society can stand without admitting this. Do you not find out how everything is being revolutionized? Do you not see how it was a custom to take for granted that everything was wicked until it proved itself good? In education, in punishing criminals, in treating lunatics, in the treatment of common diseases even, that was the old law. What is the modern law? The modern law says the body itself is healthy. It cures disease of its own nature. Medicines can at best but help the storing up of the best in the body. What says it of criminals? It takes for granted that however low a criminal may be, there is still the divinity within, which does not change, and we must treat criminals accordingly. All these things are now changing, and reformatories and penitentiaries are established. So with everything, consciously or unconsciously, that Indian idea of the divinity within everyone is expressing itself even in other countries. And in your books is the explanation which the other nations have to accept. The treatment of one man to another will be entirely revolutionized, and these old ideas of pointing to the weakness of mankind will have to go. They will have received their death blow within this century. Now people may stand up and criticize us. I have been criticized from one end of the world to another as one who preaches the diabolical idea that there is no sin. Very good. The descendants of these very men will bless me as a preacher of virtue and not of sin. I am the teacher of virtue, not of sin. I find glory in being the preacher of light and not of darkness. The second great idea which the world is waiting to receive from our Upanishads is the solidarity of this universe. The old lines of demarcation and differentiation are vanishing rapidly. Electricity and steam power are placing the different parts of the world in intercommunication with each other. And as a result, we Hindus no longer say that every country beyond our own land is peopled with demons and hobgoblins. Nor do the people of Christian countries say that India is only peopled by cannibals and savages. When we go out of our country, we find the same brother man with the same strong hand to help, with the same lips to say Godspeed, and sometimes they are better than in the country in which we are born. When they come here, they find the same brotherhood, the same cheer, the same Godspeed. Our Upanishads say that the cause of all misery is ignorance. And that is perfectly true when applied in every state of life, especially social or spiritual. It is ignorance that makes us hate each other. It is through ignorance that we do not know and do not love each other. As soon as we come to know each other, love must come. For are we not one? Thus we find solidarity coming in spite of itself. Even in politics and in sociology, problems that were only notional 20 years ago can no more be solved on national grounds only. They are assuming huge proportions, gigantic shapes. They can only be solved when looked at in the broader light of international grounds. International organizations, international combinations, international laws are the cry of the day. That shows the solidarity. In science, every day they are coming to a similar broad view of matter. You speak of matter, the whole universe as one mass, one ocean of matter in which you and I, the sun and the moon, and everything else are but the names of the different little whirlpools, and nothing more. Mentally speaking, it is the one universal ocean of thought in which you and I are similar little whirlpools. And as spirit it moveth not, it changeth not. It is the one unchangeable, unbroken, homogeneous Atman. The cry for morality is coming also, and that is to be found in our books. The explanation of morality, the fountain of ethics, that also the world wants, and that it will get here.